I just saw that you could see my kid sleeping in the background.
Oh my God. I didn't see until you said.
Yeah, me too.
All right, so verse 23, chapter 2 of the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. These shock karma which affect purification of the body are secret. They have manifold, wondrous results and are held in high esteem by eminent yogis. The shock karma are very powerful practices that can never be learned from books or taught by inexperienced people. In India, there is a tradition that only those who are instructed by the guru can teach others. One may think he has the capacity to teach, but actually he may not have adequate experience or knowledge to guide others proficiently, and this applies to shock karma in particular. If unqualified people teach them, they are likely to make serious mistakes. Also, one can make mistakes if one practices them independently without the instructions of a guru. The shock karma are said to be secret practices, as one must be personally instructed to do them and taught how to perform them and how often, according to individual need. For this, a qualified and experienced teacher is essential. Those who sincerely want to learn the shock karma will have to find a guru of Hatha Yoga, and they will have to search well because few teachers are expert in shock karma. Of course, as it has been said in a previous shloka, one should not divulge one's personal sadhana, they should keep it secret. The shock karma specifically increase the vital capacity of the practitioner. They were never designed for therapy alone, but to create harmony in the body and mind, and to prepare one for further practices. As they bring about smooth and perfect functioning of the bodily systems, it is inevitable that through the practice the mind will become free from turbulence and disturbances, and thus be better able to concentrate and move towards dhyana or meditation. The effects of shock karma can be summed up in one word: purification. When the different systems of the body have been purified, the overall result is that the energy can flow through the body freely. One's capacity to work, think, digest, taste, feel, experience, etc. increases, and greater awareness develops. It is no wonder that the yogis who have achieved perfection and know the real extent of the human capacity regard the shock karma with great esteem. The next is Dauti, a strip of wet cloth 4 angulas wide, i.e. 7 to 8 centimeters, and 15 hand spans, 1.5 meters, in length, is slowly swallowed and then taken out as instructed by the guru. This is known as Dauti. The practice described here is actually Vastra Dauti. Vastra means cloth. This practice must only be performed under expert guidance and in full accordance with the instructions given. The cloth should be finely woven cotton, which is unused and clean. Synthetic materials should definitely not be used. The cloth must also be trimmed neatly so no loose threads spray on the sides. It should be no wider than the tongue, where it will fold as it passes down the throat. It should be at least 1 meter in length and no more than 1.5 meters. Technique: Vastra Dauti, cloth cleansing. Wash and rinse the cloth well, then boil it in water. Keep the cloth in a container of warm water while you are practicing. Assume a squatting position with heels flat on the ground and the buttocks off the ground, or resting on a brick or something about the same height. Relax the body. Keep the cloth spread and not folded as you utilize it. Spread one end over the tongue and start swallowing the cloth. There's a whole chart. I'm just going to share my screen. So we have Antardauti, which is internal. So you put it in your mouth and swallow it, and then you do Agnisara Kriya. And then we have Danta Dauti. We have Hrid Dauti. We have Basti, Neti. This is the list of all different shock karmas that we went through. Very nitty is you stick the teapot in your nose. Tritaka is you look at the light, at the ghee lamp, and you close your eyes and see the impression of the light. Nali is you move the belly. Kapalabhati is that quick pranayama. If the cloth catches the throat and will not pass down, take a sip of warm water, but do not drink a large quantity. The stomach is to be filled with the cloth and not the water. The cloth may tend to stick in the lowest point of the throat, so keep swallowing the cloth and resist the urge to vomit. Once the cloth passes a little further down the esophagus, the problem will end. When 2/3 of the cloth have been swallowed, leave the remaining few inches hanging out of the mouth and stand up ready to practice Nauli. The cloth can be left in the stomach for 5 to 20 minutes, but no longer. Practice Dakshina right and Vama left Nauli. Then rotation and Madhyama Nauli. So that's when you sort of suck the belly in and do the locks and then rotate the belly. Then sit in a squatting position and slowly take the cloth out. This is the practice of Dauti, which is given in Hatha Yoga Pradipika. However, in Garan Samhita describes all the practices of Dauti. Vatsara Dauti is performed by breathing in slowly through the mouth in Kaki Mudra, and then swallowing the air into the stomach while expanding the abdomen. It can be done up to 10 times or until the stomach is fully expanded. Then the air should be passed through the large intestine. To do this, it is helpful to assume an inverted posture. Pashini Mudra is the best. The air should then pass out of the anus easily. Let me look up Pashini Mudra. No noose seal. I'll share the other screen. So this pose, it's like a plow pose with your knees around your ears. Great for farting. Lots of people fart by accident in this posture. Go back to Varisara Dauti is more commonly known today as Shanka Prakshalana. In this practice, you drink a total of 16 glasses of warm, salty water and evacuate it through the bowels. First, drink 2 glasses and perform a series of 5 specific asanas. Tadasana, which is mountain pose. Teriyaka Tadasana. Tadasana, which is stretching from side to side. So you clasp your hands and turn the palms over. You guys want to see a video? No? Okay. In this practice, then we do Kati Chakrasana. Where you open your arms up and then you're still in Tadasana, mountain pose, and you open your arms and you swing them from side to side. Okay. Teriyaka Bujungasana. We're getting into Kriyas, which remind me of what's it called? Kundalini Yoga. So Teriyaka Bujungasana, you have you're in Cobra pose, your toes are rolled under, and you look from side to side. So they call it the twisting cobra. Kati Chakrasana. And Uddara Karshanasana, which is he went through this posture in the book a while back where you're kneeling down. Let me just, oops. So I'm going to show you a picture. Screen share is not easy. So you take one knee down with the toes rolled under, and then the other knee is bent with the foot on the ground. You have your hands on your knees. And then you just sort of rotate one knee down, the other knee down, one knee down, the other knee down. After every 2 glasses of water, the asana should be performed until the water starts flowing out of the anus. Once clear water starts coming through, you will know that the stomach and intestines are perfectly clean and you can stop the practice. So these postures are great to do if you're constipated too, because it just moves energy down very well through so the belly gets churned, and then Apanavayu, the downward flow of energy, gets strong. So it works on Samanavayu, the belly churn, and then Apanavayu, the downward flow of energy. So once clear water starts coming through, you know that the stomach and intestines are perfectly clean and you can stop the practice. I was just thinking of how stopped up some people's intestines are. And they show videos sometimes of people who eat a lot of processed food, that they're just so backed up, especially people who are very obese. They're so backed up in their intestines. And the problem is, you know, your intestines are porous. They help you to absorb, right? They help you to get rid of waste product, but you know, in the stomach, there's a aspect of absorption of the food that comes in and gets digested. If your digestive tract is filled with ama, or undigested waste, then you're going to have a nutrient deficiency. So you can see this in people who are obese. Sometimes it's if their digestion is bad, right? They eat so much food, but they still have all kinds of nutritional deficiencies. And this is because there's not proper absorption. So if you're cleaning out the intestines in this way, you know, I always teach it way gentler in Ayurveda. We do a cleanse. We drink some nice teas. I have medicated ghee you eat, and over a longer period of time, we clean everything out. But this is a very quick way of doing it, which, I mean, Americans love everything sort of instantaneous anyway. So that's a way of cleaning everything out. 45 minutes after completing the practice of Shanka Prakshalana, a saltless liquid mixture of cooked rice, mung dal, which are mung beans, and ghee has to be eaten until the stomach is completely full. There are dietary restrictions to observe for a week after this practice, and as it is a major operation, it must be done under expert guidance. Amit was actually talking about this when he was giving a lecture last week. He's my go-to for like knowledge on Hatha yoga. He was saying that he had a client and he did all the Shakarma practices with her and advised her, and she lost like all the weight she wanted to lose in a couple of weeks. It was very, very quick and very, very effective. And she felt better than she ever had afterwards. There's a shorter technique called Lagu Shanka Prakshalana. Lagu means short. In this practice, only 6 glasses of warm saline water are to be taken. After every 2 glasses, the same series of asanas are to be performed as Puma, or full Shanka Prakshalana. In Hatha, Ratanavali mentions the use of jaggery water. Jaggery is like it's like a sugar. It's a sugar, well, there are different forms of it, but it's a very sweet. So it's like if you take the juice of the cane and you cook it down and cook it down and cook it down and cook it down, and it gets drier, it turns into jaggery, which then they would like hit with a hammer to make it into a powder. So it's got really, really high iron because it's not refined sugar like white sugar. So it's actually really healthy, and it gives you that sweet flavor. Especially in postpartum, we use this a lot in the diet, and it helps to replenish the blood loss because there's so much iron in it. So milk water instead of salt water. There are also various other herbs and juices which can be used, such as a few drops of lemon, onion, or garlic juice. So when I see Amit do it, he does it with lemon and honey in the water. Lagu Shanka Prakshalana could be done with carrot or celery juice too. Vanisara Dauti, also known as Agni Sara Kriya. Just speaking one more time, the celery juice. Celery is actually an herb, people don't realize, and the salts in it are highly antiviral. So there's this whole craze with the medical medium. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, and he has this whole like celery juice cleanse, and people claim that it like reverses thyroid disease that's brought on by viruses. Like a lot of us have viruses in our system but aren't aware of it, like Epstein-Barr and things like that. We're carrying around a lot of viruses. So the celery has a way of sort of just destroying the proteins of the virus, I guess. And so it makes sense that they would do this with celery juice. This is the first time I'm hearing of it though, so it's an interesting connection there. Vanisara Dauti, also known as Agnisara Kriya, involves moving the fire, quote unquote, in the body. Vani and Agni mean fire. Sar is essence. The essence of fire is located in the navel region, so in our Manipura chakra. On a physical level, these practices involve conscious movement of the abdominal muscles and organs, and this creates internal heat. The practice is very useful as a preparation for Kapala Bhakti and Bhastrika Pranayama. And Garan Samhita says to push the navel against the spine 100 times. The practice can be done standing or sitting in Vajrasana. The throat lock Jalandhara Bandha is performed first, then the abdomen is pushed out rapidly while breath is held. It can be done while breathing through the mouth with the tongue extended, panting like a dog, and moving the abdomen in rhythm with the breath. For most people, it is unnecessary to practice 100 times. 50 is sufficient. Bhastrika Dauti is very difficult unless you're an extremely advanced Hatha Yoga practitioner. It involves standing navel deep in clean water, pushing the rectum out, and washing it in the hands. The Garan Samhita says it is not easily available even to the gods. That sounds terrible. It's like anal prolapse. Danta Dauti is the cleaning of the teeth with a special stick, usually called neem or babul. What is it called? You can, what is it called? It's you could buy it on the internet. Like usually you just be walking in India, and the same in Indonesia. There's just neem plants all over the place, and you just cut a piece of the stick and you chew on the end. And what is wrong with my brain this morning? It's not Ajwan. It's and you just use it as it was like the first toothbrush. And the properties of mishwak, it's called mishwak. The properties of the stick are antimicrobial, antibacterial. So they've done studies of people who brush with mishwak, and they don't get cavities. It kills the bacteria that causes the cavities, so it's really healthy for you. A toothbrush and toothpaste or powder can be used in Ayurveda. We don't really use toothpaste. There's a tooth powder that's filled with herbs that are really healthy for your teeth. Danta Dauti includes Jiva Dauti, cleaning the tongue by rubbing it with the jointed first finger and thumb in a downward motion and then squeezing it. There are a lot of acupressure points in the tongue. Kama Dauti, cleaning the ears with the middle finger and nothing smaller. And we usually oil the ears. Kapalarandra Dauti, cleaning the upper back portion of the palate. Chakshu Dauti, bathing the eyes with tepid saline water or urine. And there are practices in Ayurveda that will get rid of like these crazy eye washes with like it's just very long, drawn out preparations. It takes a long time to create a safe preparation of cow urine, and it gets rid of cataracts for people, which is pretty cool. But kind of like, they have a way of humanizing substances, which means making it safe for the human to use. So through like burying things in the ground and keeping it in the sun and heating it and mixing it with another herb and stuff like that, it creates like a different chemical component than what it was originally. You can also bathe the eyes with rose water. That's what I usually do because of my pitta constitution. Because I have a lot of fire, I'll every morning spray rose water into the eyes, and it's very cooling. Krit Dauti, according to the Garan Samhita, is threefold. One should perform it with a stick, by vomiting, and with a piece of cloth. The first practice is Danda Dauti, which has been mentioned in the commentary in verse 22. Although a soft banana stem is traditionally used, the Garan Samhita advises that a sugarcane stick or turmeric root can be used. Today, some people use a thin catheter as a substitute. I don't know what that one is. Let me look it up. Krit Dauti. Yeah, I am not sure here. Oh, I guess it's instead of the cloth, you use the other things. Ugh. Vaman Dauti, or Viagra Kriya, is the second practice of Krit Dauti. Vaman is to vomit, Viagra is tiger. Just as a tiger regurgitates its food a couple hours after eating, in this practice you vomit the food from the stomach 3 hours after a meal. If it is difficult, you can drink a glass or two of warm saline water and then tickle the back of the throat with the first 2 fingers to induce vomiting. Traditionally, after performing this practice, a sweet milk rice pudding should be eaten. Kunjal Kriya is almost identical to Viagra Kriya, except it is performed on an empty stomach. You drink 2 to 4 glasses of warm saline water and vomit it out. There are no dietary restrictions afterwards. The third practice of Krit Dauti is Vashtra Dauti, which has already been described in full detail. Mula Shodhana is done by inserting the middle finger into the rectum and rotating it clockwise and anti-clockwise. Make sure the fingernail is cut short, and if necessary, you can put some non-irritating oil on the finger to lubricate the anus. The Garan Samhita also recommends the use of turmeric root instead of a finger to start by sitting in Utkatasana. This is the full series of Dauti practices. There's no doubt that coughs, asthma, diseases of the spleen, leprosy, and 20 kinds of diseases caused by excess mucus are destroying the effects of Dauti karma. The combination of all the practices of Dauti cleans the entire digestive tract and respiratory tract. It removes excess and old bile, mucus, and toxins, and restores the natural balance of the body's chemical composition, thus alleviating ailments caused by such imbalances. The practices help remove infectious bacteria from the nose, mouth, eyes, ears, throat, stomach, intestines, and anus. The results are a reduction of excess fatty tissue and relief from flatulence, constipation, poor digestion, and loss of appetite. Dauti is even said to cure leprosy. Although this disease is not prevalent in many countries today, the point is that even such insidious diseases can be alleviated through this powerful practice. The equivalent of leprosy today could be considered as cancer. The Garan Samhita states that Dauti can cure abdominal ailments and fever. Of course, it is not advisable to practice Dauti during a fever or acute visceral infection. However, if it is practiced after recuperation, it will prevent recurrence of the problem. There are certain conditions in which Antar Dauti must not be practiced. These are stomach, intestinal ulcers, hernia, heart disease, and high blood pressure. Basti, yogic enema. Sitting in Utkatasana, navel deep in water, insert a tube into the anus and contract the anus. This cleansing with water is called Basti karma. Although there are 2 forms of Basti, Jala and Sthala, the only one mentioned is Shulka. We will describe both here. To perform Basti, you have to be adept in Uddiyadambadha, which is the belly lock, and Nauli, which is the churning of the belly kriya. Jala Basti. Am I screen sharing?
No.
Screen sharing, but not the photo.
Oh, okay. Beginners will have to start by inserting a catheter into the rectum. Traditionally, a bamboo tube is used. Plastic tubing or catheter is suitable, but organic material is always preferable. The tube should be at least 13 to 15 centimeters long, perfectly smooth and hollow. Wipe it with beeswax or non-irritating oil, such as Vaseline or ghee for lubrication. Insert 4 centimeters of a tube into the anal passage or as much as comfortable, then squat over a bucket in Katasana. Exhale and perform Uddiyana Bandha. If the water is not sucked up through the tube into the bowel, then do Madhyana, Nali, and hold. If the water is still not sucked up, do Vama or Dakshima Nali. Then you can no longer hold Kambuka. Remove the catheter or tube without exhaling. Then stand up and exhale slowly through the nose. When you expel the water, it is best to squat over the toilet, because stool in the lower intestine will also come out. If the catheter is not removed before exhaling, the water will pass out and the tube may get blocked by pieces of stool. After much practice, the catheter will not be necessary. You'll be able to suck the water into the bowel directly, but that is a very advanced stage which may take years to perfect. When practicing without the catheter, you have to push the rectum out as far as possible, then draw it in with Uddiyana Bandha. First, open the sphincter muscles with the fingers, perform Uddiyana, and remove the hand. Maintain Kumbhaka for as long as possible, and then slowly exhale. After the practice, make sure all the water is expelled, then lie in Shavasana on a blanket. Slowly assume Pashini Mudra, placing the knees beside the ears and balancing on the backs of the shoulders. Hands clasped together behind the back of the knees. There releases air from the bowel and induces a bowel action if there's any water remaining. Come out of the position slowly and lie in Shavasana again. Then fold the knees into the chest, hold them, and slowly rock from side to side. Or rock with the arms stretched out to the sides at shoulder height. Light Shavasana again. When you are ready, perform Bujungasana or a Cobra pose slowly 3 to 5 times. This exerts pressure on the lower intestine and releases any remaining water or air. It is not essential, but Mayurasana is also recommended after Basti. Pashini Mudra is the most suitable counter pose. It is extremely important that the water used in Basti is perfectly clean and neither hot nor too cold. The cold weather or lukewarm water should be used. It is not necessary to add salt to the water, but the catheter must be sterilized before and after use. Basti can be done in warm or hot weather, especially if you're also doing intense pranayama and bandhas. Basti generates energy, but also removes heat from the system. It must not be done during cloudy, rainy, windy, or stormy weather. Sthala Basti is performed when lying on the back. Assume Viparita Karani Mudra, but position the back at a 60-degree angle to the floor. Then bring the knees down to the chest. Push the sphincter muscles out and so that the air is sucked into the bowel. This is not an easy practice, and Jala Basti has to be performed first. Sthala Basti can also be practiced in Pashini Mudra or Paschimottanasana, performing Ashwini Mudra. In the beginning, Uddiyana may also be required. It's not easy to suck in air while Paschimottanasana, as there is pressure on the anus, so it's best to start in an inverted asana. The Hatha Ratanavali says that after practicing Basti, food should not be taken for 3 gatis, 72 minutes. All right, so that's that. I think I'll read one more and then we'll discuss. Enlargement of the glands and spleen, and all diseases arising from excess mind. Bile and mucus are eliminated from the body through the practice of Basti. By practicing Jala Basti, the appetite increases, the body glows, excess doshas are destroyed, and the dhatu senses and mind are purified. Basti completely washes the bowel and removes excess bacteria, old stool, threadworms, and heat from the lower intestines. More importantly, it pushes Apana Vayu upward. When the Apana rises, it can be felt in the navel region as a great pressure on the stomach. Basti cures digestive disorders and is particularly useful for removing constipation, stimulating sluggish digestion, controlling nervous diarrhea, and strengthening the solar plexus. When the body is purified, the chemical constituents are in balanced proportion and the brain functions are simultaneously influenced and altered. When the body is pure and the mind becomes stable, emotional reactions to external stimuli are altered and you will respond in a more relaxed and controlled manner. Dasha karma enable control over unruly senses. They make the karmendriya, organs of action, keen, and gyanendriya, the organs of knowledge, more perceptive and sensitive. So karmendriya is reaching, touching, procreating, defecating, all those. And gyanendriya is all your senses. So sight, hearing, feeling, and all those senses. The Shakarma not only purify the body elements or dhatu, they also influence the subtle body. According to yoga, human existence extends through 5 layers or sheaths, which are called the koshas. The physical body and its elements comprise the first layer, Annamaya kosha. Anna is food, and Maya means comprised of. The Shakarma directly influence this kosha and penetrate the next layer, Pranamaya kosha, as they allow the free flow of prana. The third layer, Manomaya kosha, the mental sheath, is indirectly affected through pranayama. Purification of these sheaths opens the fourth kosha, Vijnanamaya, or the sheath of intuition. However, the fifth kosha, Anandamaya, the sheath of bliss, is unaffected by any physical influence because it is a transcendental realm. These 5 sheaths are interlinked. Whatever happens in one affects the others. When Annamaya and Pranamaya are cleansed, there are no blockages between them and Manomaya. The mind, body, and energy can work in unison, and that removes the barrier to your wisdom, Vijnanamaya kosha. The first 4 koshas and the extension of are the extension of Anandamaya, the bliss body, which is closest to the essential self. When there are blockages between any of the koshas, communication and integration are hindered. Annamaya and Pranamaya are gross manifestations, while Manomaya and Vijnanamaya are subtle. Pranamaya is the link between the gross and the subtle, and Manomaya is the bridge to the higher mind. When you practice the Shakarma, you are establishing integration of your whole being, physically, emotionally, mentally, psychically, and cosmically. Okay. Any thoughts?
I could see why they say don't do this without a
Yeah.
very experienced practitioner present. You could really
Oh,
some serious damage if you misjudge or go too far, etc. So it's great advice that she keeps saying that
yeah.
in her translation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just feel I don't know. I mean, to me, this feels so far away from me because it is. You know, I didn't grow up with anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't think mac and cheese is an approved food for, you know, but it's very interesting.
It is. It's in Ayurveda they say that the way that the 7 tissues or dhatus are formed
Yeah.
is one builds upon the other, and it all starts with digestion. So if it makes sense that if you're doing such a deep cleanse that it removes all the bad bacteria and all the leftover junk in there,
Yeah.
that suddenly you get this glowing health, because then the nervous system is built better, the bones are built better, the muscles are built better, the reproductive organs are built better, the glands are fed better, so then your hormones are going to be more comfortable, more balanced. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people suffering from these imbalances in our culture. But yeah, I feel similarly that a lot of it is so far away. That's a very polite way of saying it too.
But you know, when you describe and you help people to do the Ayurvedic Khichdi cleanse, that seems much more accessible, and I've done it a couple of times. It definitely has benefits, and it doesn't feel quite so foreign. So that's really a nice way to start. You know,
It's gentle.
it's gentle and still addresses digestion, but it does so in a way that's easier for somebody who grew up in Buffalo to grasp.
Yeah, totally. Did anyone else have any thoughts, impressions? No? Okay. All right. So yeah, I think the easiest thing to start with, and is always what my Hatha yoga teacher advises, is to start with neti pot. You can spray rose water in your eyes in the morning. You can scrape your tongue and brush your teeth with mishwak. And use tooth powder. And do the pranayama and the everyday physical practice, and that's going to definitely give you some nice benefits. And just changing the diet, like Sue said, is like really simple ways that we can do this without sticking anything up our butt. All right, so let's move into pranayama.
I will say though that tongue scraping thing was one of my favorite things I learned from your Ayurvedic workshop. I don't know why it took me this long in life to hear about that, because it makes a huge difference for me.
Yeah, that's awesome, right? You could taste everything better.
Oh my God, it's like huge difference.
Yeah, it's great. Isabella scrapes her tongue.
Aw, that's really cute.
All right, so what to do today? Let's start with some alternate nostril breathing. Oh, hi, Megan. I see you just popped in. So we're going to do some pranayama. You can take your right hand and fold the peace fingers, the pointer in the middle, into the center of the palm. And then we're going to close off the right nostril with the thumb and the left nostril with the ring finger. So you can inhale through both nostrils and exhale through both nostrils. Close off the right nostril with the thumb, inhale through the left side. Closing off both, exhale through the right side. Inhale through the right side. Closing off both, exhale through the left side. Inhale through the left side. Closing off both, exhale through the right side. Inhale through the right side. Closing off both, exhale through the left side. Inhale through the left side. Closing off both, exhale through the right side. Inhale through the right side. Closing off both, exhale through the left side. Inhale through the left side. Closing off both, exhale through the right side. Inhale through the right side. Closing off both, exhale through the left side. Inhale through the left side. Closing off both, exhale through the right side. Inhale through the right side. Closing off both, exhale through the left side. So if you're just starting off, I want you to continue like that on your own. For those of you who've been doing this for weeks and months and almost a year now, then we can start to work on retention on the inhale. Okay, do not do retention unless you've done alternate nostril breathing consistently for a very long time. Okay, so if you're doing retention, you're going to inhale through the left side, close off both sides, squeeze in the pelvic floor lock, pull the belly in, tuck the chin, turn the eyes up. And release the chin, release the belly, release the root, exhale out the right side. Inhale through the right side, close off both sides, squeeze in the pelvic floor, the belly, the chin, turn the eyes up. Release the chin, the belly, the root, exhale through the left side. So continue with your practices. We're going to go for about a minute here. So we started at the left side, trying to end out the left side. And then we'll do Bumblebee Breath. So open up your palms, and then you're going to take your pinky and your ring finger into the center of the palm.
The peace fingers will come together to close the eyes. The thumbs will close the ears. You have little ear flaps, you'll just press them down. We're going to inhale through the nose and then exhale through the nose. And as we're exhaling, we're going to create a buzzing sound. This is Brahmurti, right? So you're going to, and you'll go as long as the breath carries you. And then when you're done, start the sound again. Go for 5 times. Really feel like the palate is open here, so you can feel the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth, right behind the teeth. And try to pull the vibration up to the back of the throat. So we'll inhale deeply, close off your ears and eyes, and then as you exhale, you'll hum like a bumblebee. When you're done, place your hands on your knees. And we're going to do 2 more rounds. If you've never done this practice before and you're feeling dizzy, instead of going further, you're going to just breathe deeply in and out of the nose. The second option is if you've done this and you're feeling good, and maybe you're just starting out with it, you can continue for 2 more like this. And the third option is you can, for my practitioners who've been going for a long time now, especially with alternate nostril breathing, then you can start to work in the locks. So you're going to lock the root lock by squeezing the pelvic floor up and in, and then you'll turn the eyes up towards the space between the eyebrows. So you'll lock the eye lock and the root lock, and then we'll do 2 more rounds of Bumblebee Breath. When you're done, take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. The next is we'll do Bellows Breath. So you'll pump the diaphragm in and out. If you're feeling dizzy or lightheaded, you're not going to do Bellows Breath. You're going to sit quietly and breathe as deeply as you can, inhaling for a 5 count and exhaling for a 5 count. If you're feeling good here, then we'll pump the belly out and in, out and in. If you've been doing this a long time, you could do the same where you lock the bottom and lock the top. Okay, otherwise, no locks for people who are just starting out this pranayama. So you'll inhale deeply, exhale all the way, inhale halfway, and pump the belly. Inhale all the way. Retain the breath. Exhale all the way out. Again, if you're dizzy, you'll stop and breathe steadily with the hands on the knees. Otherwise, we'll go again. Inhale halfway. Pump the belly in and out. Inhale all the way. Retain the breath. Exhale all the way out. Inhale all the way. Exhale all the way. Then we'll come to our meditation practice. So I'll offer a couple of different steps. I'm not sure where everybody is at in their meditation practice, The first step is you'll take the hands into Jnana Mudra, thumb and pointer finger touch, and place the hands on the knees. Close your eyes, sitting up nice and tall in a comfortable position. If your knees don't go in line with your hips, then you can sit up on a pillow, a block, or a bolster to elevate the hips. Make sure you're comfortable with an erect spine. You can sit up against a wall or anything that will help you to be comfortable. And the first step is we're going to just inhale and exhale and count the breaths backwards from 100 to 0. Inhale, exhale 100, inhale, exhale 99, inhale, exhale 98, working your way down to 0. If you lose track of the count because the mind wanders into some other place and time, some memory, some thought form, then you can realize you've gone elsewhere and start again at 100. If you've done that for a while and you're able to concentrate all the way down to 0, then we can move on to spinal breath with the mantra So Hum. Inhaling So, draw your mind down to the base of the spine. Exhale, Hum, draw your mind up to the crown of the head. Inhale So, to the base of the spine. Exhale, Hum, to the crown of the head. Same principle applies. If the mind wanders, we just start again at the crown of the head. It's always important to have a point of focus to guide the mind back. The mind is turbulent, it moves around. Right, we eventually drop into a space deeper than the mind, so the mind will be going off in the distance, but we're absorbing our consciousness in something deeper. So the first part is, right, we're counting. The second part is we're absorbing the consciousness through the channel of the spine. I'm going to put the timer on for 20 minutes. Another meditation practice you like to use, you can use that instead. You can bring the hands to prayer, bowing the head. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
See you tomorrow.